not knowing who my mother was when I woke up from one of my head injuries. And then, she called me my childhood nickname and it was like, Mommy?
What's up? We are back. Time to breathe. I'm gonna kick this one off before I even make the awesome introduction of my homie, longtime friend with deep breath. Reminder to breathe.
Let's take it in for a second.
Take it in for a second, soak it up, get that little zenful moment. We are here. Time to breathe. I'm very excited. Podcast number 2, and it's all about people that I know well, I don't know well, and I've known a long time, like my boy Sean Hackley. I have to start with a little bit of cred because I love giving props to my homies. But signed Sean when I think he was like 6 or 7 years old. He was a top amateur motocross racer, amazing mom, family, and everything. Friends with Nico Izzy, and put him in gear back when I was running the marketing and stuff like that. And the kid grew to one of the top amateurs. My boy was all over Disney, all over everything. You transcended, you crossed over, you had speed, you had style. We had you in no fear gear, then we had you in Alpine Stars gear.
It was a good
And
look.
yeah, it was a crazy journey. But man, to be here right now on this pod, episode 2, we haven't bonded and caught up in a while, so this is actually going to be refreshing.
Yes, yes. So, how are you?
I'm doing amazing, bud. Just we're both out here in Texas now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a more your stomping ground, but a new kind of 2-year experience for me.
Yes, no, I need to make it down there and see you. Austin's kind of like an area I don't touch too much, but it's also a good time. But welcome to Texas, and I appreciate the introduction as well.
Yeah, no worries, brother. Well, dude, you to me, you're a personality. You've been through so much. I mean, like, time to breathe means so many different things. I mean, in life, it's those pauses, it's that patience and that process. And we haven't caught up in a bit, but I know you're kind of helping the next generation of kids now with everything you learned through your career in motocross and teaching kids. What's that like?
It's awesome. I enjoy it. After racing, I didn't know what to do, and kind of caught in limbo for a second. And the next best thing was giving my gift away, and not having children or anything like that. I had a couple kids in Texas, and was at the track one day and helped them out, and it was cool just to see the little bits that I gave them early on turned into something. And started working with some riders, and it turned to something. And my backup plan kind of just fell into my lap. Giving my gift away is my next step of my journey.
No, that's insane. There's a lot of talented guys as close friends of yours, close friends of mine that have transitioned out of it because one thing about the era you grew up in is there was so much discipline. Day in, day out, racing, 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 family sport, all the races. Not that
Mhm.
that's not the case, but now, but something I think with you, with Millsaps, with I mean Kevin Wyndham's back, has teaching kids and helping kids, but there's something I think that you went through at such a high level in amateur motocross, and in life and family values and everything. But when you go through it all and you have the highs and lows, which we'll kind of jump into, it's got to be an interesting yet super rewarding kind of feeling, right?
Yes, and it's something that I'm just now diving back into my amateur career because you're so in the zone, focused on where you're at. You can't really look back at where you come because you're looking at your next steps forward. At the closing of my career, it was kind of like, hey, I still want to be racing, but just sitting back and looking what I've already done and accomplished. Okay, like I'm happy where I'm at. It's time to see what's next.
What's that feeling like? Because I mean, when your whole life's dedicated to something, and then motocross, obviously a very physically demanding sport. My boy, like all of us, I mean, I fell short of talent a lot. You definitely had more talent, but the head injuries, like you didn't just decide. You were still young. You had the speed and everything, but it was the injuries, right, that kind of forced you to kind of like force you to pause on racing.
100%. I had, I guess, my first TBI a couple hours before my flight before round one. I wanted to ride a couple more laps like I was good. I was in a good position, but I just wanted more to make sure that I was ready. And, that one more time thing got me. Like, hey, just another time, just one more time. Barely fell over and just world turned upside down, but it's something that you don't think about until it's time. It's there. And then that's just a really wow moment of, hey, what do I do next? Because I planned for so much more and I never even got to get started.
I can't even fathom, like, I've been through stuff, but it's not necessarily totally comparable. But I've been friends with so many athletes that kind of everything is dedicated. Your parents in motocross sacrifice everything. It's an expensive sport. I mean, you have tons of success as an amateur, and it just seemed like it was this buildup. But the mindset you're talking about in life is interesting, and it's I think it's going to be very valuable to people because I can only imagine. I mean, how dark of a space it is when suddenly, kind of tell me the age, kind of when that happened. When was it? What was the age that kind of you had to stop?
Well, let's see. So before my pro debut, I was never supposed to make it. Doctors told me, hey, like from what you just had, you should never ride a dirt bike again. You hit your head again, we don't know what's going to happen. Well, like you said, we've been so dedicated since, I got my first dirt bike when I was 5 years old. At 12, that's really when everything kind of just set in. And at that point, it's just like, hey, I'm still alive. I have to go for it. I've worked my whole life for this moment. And if I'm able to do it, I'm going to try. So the dark area, I mean, wow, 18 is when it happened, right when I signed my pro contract, never got to do my first race with being healthy. Even my first race that I did, I was only cleared for 3 days, and then my hometown Supercross was there. So I'm like, hey, we got to show up and race. We'll see how we do. Which is wild to think about. It's like, hey, you've been off the bike for how long? But my hometown Supercross is just 25 minutes down the road. Team's here. Let me get on the bike, and if I do all right, let's see how it goes.
Gosh, that's so heavy. Because I lose track of time and I wasn't sure the exact age. So, I mean, at 18 too, it's like almost even like way. I'm curious your perspective now, looking back at 18 and now, and just going, wow. Because I mean, you have to kind of walk through and what am I going to do? Right? I've trained my whole life from this. Obviously, you've been on camera, you've been on TV. I think you had Disney stuff. You had all kinds of things happening, right? I mean,
Hmm.
and you did so much for the sport. I want to give you props too, because a lot of people, are big in the sport, but a lot of the stuff you had was mainstream outside, like I said, Disney stuff and things like that. But to have all that happen, and then that the brain side of it is sensitive, and then now that big decision, like 25 minutes from your hometown track, Supercross your whole life, dude. This is big because so many people don't have that follow up and haven't prepared for something else. And then when it hits, I mean, I think people are going to relate to this because when it hits, you can't even understand what it feels like unless it's hitting you, right? Or it's happening to you.
Absolutely. I never thought about what if plan option A doesn't work out. No one really thinks about plan B. And until I hit rock bottom and was at my lowest of low, and thankfully I have some great friends in my corner, like you're one of them, people that have always reached out to me during the highs and the lows and checked up on me. And I think that's where I'm coming in now. Like that, just looking back up, I'm very thankful that I did go ahead and keep racing to try. Um, by no means did I live up to my dreams and expectations, but looking back on it now, where I was at one point, I did pretty good. So I'm happy to look back and say I tried it, and that's what's taken me on my next step to try to give my knowledge away. But then it's also me kind of recollecting good and bad times, which is tough to look back on where I was at one point and then how low I got, having to learn how to rewalk again, talk, not knowing who my mother was when I woke up from one of my head injuries. And then, she called me my childhood nickname and it was like, mommy. And like,
Oh,
so
wow.
yeah, it's a super surreal thing that my parents even like wanted me, they never wanted me to touch a dirt bike again. But I'm like, guys, look what I've done my whole entire life. This is me. I'm sorry. I have to keep going.
Yeah, your mom and dad have always been so supportive. I mean, when I'm on the sponsorship side, we become family, right? Because we're at races all the time and whatnot. Run us through this because, like, I don't even honestly know. I can't even remember the extent, but is it a culmination of a bunch of injuries, or this one sounded like one specific one that kind of was the extreme? Like, tell me, walk through that because I mean, you're talking about. I've had probably 7 concussions, and I never got to the level of racing that you did.
Mhm.
But when you race, and I always joke like I fell short of talent. Um, but uh, but walk through whatever, just bring me through this whole kind of side of it, because it's like I never honestly, I remember it, and I remember it was heavy, and I remember I was like so emotional as a friend and someone that has backed you and been there for, with you and along the journey. But walk through that injury or this whole experience, leading to what you just shared.
So the dates wise, I don't really know. I know, like, I feel the date when that date comes around. I know that was a very heavy day. But the day before I was supposed to fly out for Atlanta Supercross, I just wanted to spin a few more laps, crashed, and like I said, my world chain turned upside down. And I ended up having, well, I guess in a couple days before that, I was in Texas and crashed. Didn't realize that was that big of a deal, but then I crashed again. But when I crashed, I had a hematoma in my brain. And when I fell in California, it popped.
Oh,
So just so when I fell, it wasn't a hard crash or anything like that, but I was just sitting there and colors were all trippy and nothing was different. And my dad ran over to me and I'm like, Dad, something's not right. So I had a brain bleed. So they induced me into a coma for a couple days. And I obviously don't know what that was like, but got back out, did rehab in Texas, and 3 months later, or I guess whatever the time was from round one to round 6 or 7 at Dallas, went into the doctor and I cleared all my things, hopped on the dirt bike for 3 days, and we went racing.
wait. You said that too. That was, dude, you flowed into that too easy. Everything you just went through, induced into a coma, brain bleed. I can't even imagine your parents. I know how much they love you, watching their boy, in this position. But then you just said very
My
shortly after you're
mind is
heading to a race.
one
Are you?
thing. My mind, that was my entire life. Like my Disney commercial was follow your dream. So my entire life has been worked up for this one moment. This rookie year, my rookie year, I had kind of surrounded my entire life about this moment. Like, hey, I would love to try to win the title my first year because I don't think anybody had really done that up to that point. Don't I mean we have all the facts and people like that right now, so they can double check me on that. But before 2007, I don't think anybody had won their rookie year, and I was like, hey, that's the goal. Set the bar
Yes.
pretty high. But then I hit my head again at Hangtown the same year, so that was second impact syndrome, and that's really what took me back.
Can I jump in on this? Because
Go ahead.
so many people in motocross don't get released. I mean, doctors say keep your cast on for 2 months. We've all
Mhm.
cut them off, at 1 month, right? But to get out and go riding, because that's what we love. And normally when you're a rider, you kind of know pretty well, like if you're kind of good or not.
Right.
But there's no way you had any release that soon after that brain bleed and the induced coma. This was just
Crazy.
your choice. Yeah, to race. Did you?
No. I was cleared.
Wow.
Miracle. Everything the doctors told me to do, rest, no light, no TV, low, all the Blu-ray stuff like that. That's what I did. This is when technology was coming out. So I'm a nerd. I love technology and phones and all of that. So I had to put that away and just sleep and recover. And that's why when I came back to the doctor, they're looking at my scans and they're like, there's no way that we see nothing here. No sign
Gosh.
whatsoever. So, but then when I crashed at Hangtown, I hit the complete opposite side of my brain.
So, yeah, you're just doing combos. You're like Mike Tyson. You're taking out the left side, the right side.
So yeah, it pretty much 2007 was a very rough year.
2007. So, and in 2007, what age are you then? Are you 18, 19?
18 years
18,
old.
18. Gosh. So now after Hangtown, what is this deciding factor? Now you hit your head on the other side. This is when it really had that, what do you call it, double impact syndrome or something?
Second impact syndrome, yes.
Oh, second impact. So now this happens, and you're 18 years old, rookie year, and what's this conversation like with yourself, with your mom, with your dad? Like at this point, where did I just can't imagine what that talk was like.
That was a very long recovery. That set me back about a year until I started. Well, that was probably like 8 or 9 months until I started riding again. And that was just to recovery wasn't really going good, honestly. I was kind of lagging, gaining my senses back and stuff like that. And I'm like, you know what? Let me get on the dirt bike. And everyone's like, no, no, no. And I'm like, but if I'm looking at all my photos and everything, I ride dirt bikes. That's what I do. And so we went to Village Creek, where I did my Disney commercial. And we went in the parking lot and I just started riding around. And to be honest with you, that's when everything started clicking back off for me. Memory started coming back. And it's just because that's just my familiar sensations. And that's when it was like, oh, wow. Went saw the doctor and they're like, you shouldn't be doing that. Asked me questions and my numbers, all my stuff was way up. And they're like, okay, something's up here. And at that point, I'm 18, 19 years old. I'm an adult. I can do this. I want to go ride my dirt bike. No one's going to tell me what I can and can't do. And I went to go race my dirt bike again.
And
We did fine. We raced Supercross. Nothing. I wasn't as fast. A lot had changed. It was hard for me to accept, but I was still able to qualify, still able to race. Something was a little off. I would have some problems with vision and things like that. And later in my career, just doing research, I figured that out. But it was just a learning process. But man, I don't regret anything that I did, any choices, because that's what got me back to here versus saying that, hey, you're only going to make it back to so far. No,
yeah.
I can recover 100%.
No, that's interesting. Like the sensations you talk about by doing something you love and your muscle memory, I mean, suddenly all the things that started coming back because the passion for writing and everything But so now you're how long did you race now? Now you're 19-ish.
Mhm.
When did you finally go? Was it another injury or was it just like fatigue? Was there more health stuff that kind of caught up with you or was it a crash or what was the like, how long did you go before you actually completely had to realize you had to stop?
Man, there was lots of signs of telling me to stop, but I kept ignoring them. Just injuries on. I'd be feeling good. I'm like, okay, let's keep going. Let's step it up a notch. And then something would happen, but really not accepting or letting go of what I wanted to be. Didn't have a clue of what I wanted to do. I wasn't just going to stop riding my dirt bike and then go, I don't know. I still had to follow my heart and continue what I wanted to do. Like I had a list of goals and a plan lined out. And since that backfired, I still wanted to try to follow through. And I think it was 2015, started feeling good again. Dallas Supercross, tripled onto a tabletop, and my rear shock blew out. And I woke up in the hospital. And at that point, I'm just like, okay, I looked around. I'm like, all right, I know where I am. Looked around, my parents were there, my wife was there, and I'm like, okay, I remember everybody. They're like, okay, don't move too much. You broke your lower back. You did this. You hit your head again. And I'm like, okay, I'm done.
Man,
At that point, I was like, I need to just throw in the towel. I know where I'm at. We've been here before, and enough's enough.
and so what age is this now? Like at this point where you're reckoning, you're going, man, I
23, 24.
23, 24. This is something that always is so heavy on my heart, and I'm sure you probably have some stories as well, but like identity. When you grow up and you have something so infused into your bloodstream like motorsports and motocross, and you're now 23, 24 young, kids are 22, 23, 24 getting out of college, right? And your whole degree, you've been working on your degree since you were 5 years old, and dedicating everything to it. And it's like, you know, one of my favorite heroes, Dave Mira,
Mm.
I mean, rest in peace. The guy
Yes,
did so
absolutely.
much for the sport. I mean, from his family to being a dad to just the levels he took the sport of BMX, the sport of, I mean, everything he touched. And and I know there's a couple other guys in BMX and other things that have had a lot of head injuries and certain stuff. And when you're the miracle boy and all these things, got milk commercials, and you've just impacted and inspired so many, and then you transition, was that, I know that was hard and a lot of people that mental health side of things, but how did that affect you? And like, what did you fall into, good or bad, at this 20, 20, 24, 25, age area after
That,
saying I'm going to stop?
yeah, that was very tough, because people my age, like we're growing up, we're succeeding. I wanted to be on the same journey and stuff like that. And it wasn't jealousy or envy or anything like that, but it's like, hey, these are guys that I raced with my entire life. I did these cool things with, and now they're winning championships, and I'm just back here still getting by. But I think the one thing that kept me afloat was my commercial of just me being a genuine 11, 12-year-old kid talking about following my dream. And that's what kept me strumming forward each day, because obviously there were some very, very dark times of when your phone blows up all day, every day, everybody wants to be your best friend. When you're at the bottom, no one calls, no one wants to answer. And there's an expression in racing, you're as good as your last race. And mm, but I get the side of it, like people not calling and check up on you because it's a dark place to be in. And when you're moving somewhere, it's hard to call someone that you're close to and be like, hey, buddy, how are you doing? Because, you have that same risk that you're about to encounter every weekend. You hope for them the best, but
Hmm.
it is a dark place. And, it's just that friend, that support group. And that's what I want to kind of be, that support group for that middle-aged guys, the kids that are going through something that don't know, hey, what do I want to do next, or where should I go? It's, hey, stay on your path and things will work out. We have a great community in motocross, and outside of racing, like yourself, so many more opportunities that are available. Just you got to stick around and find your path.
Was there, normally in life you lean when you have something and you kind of get rid of something, or it goes out of your life to a certain point. Was there any like substance abuse or anything, like, because I mean, when you grow up, you're so disciplined in motocross, you're missing a lot of your youth, right? And then you go through this whole thing, the racing stops. Was there, I mean, two an amazing kid and a
Mhm.
close friend of both of us, but Nico Izzy, you know? I mean, I've seen Shane Best, Nico Izzy, a lot of guys that, I mean, of course I loved, I've known forever, and it's just such a hard time when, the pressures of everything and just the combination. I know your parents were really supportive, much like, a lot of theirs, but was there anything like now that this stops? It just feels like that transition. Were you just going to races? Did you actually find a pretty seamless transition, or was there anything that you kind of had some bad habits to kind of walk through this new chapter? Because I know in my life, I've always been on the road. We've always traveled with the top athletes, friends. I mean, we're all, like you said, it's a big family, whether it's action
Mhm.
sports, motorsports, music, culture, this whole world we've been blessed with. But sometimes, like when you leave a company or you leave a position or you leave whatever, like in this case, like something your whole life, it's like we didn't talk through this point, so I don't even know.
Mhm.
I just know that, like, man, I know that I want to jump into the kid you are today and the man you are today. And like we
Right.
had a good talk a few weeks ago, just catching up, and I was like,
Mhm.
and I see you on some of these interviews at Loretta Lenz. I'm like, man, very well spoken, very polite. You've always been a great kid, but it makes me proud as a friend. But I know these podcasts are always interesting because it's like, I share as much as I can just because I'm far from perfect, but I'm always
Mhm.
on the
Right.
mend, trying to find these certain things. And sometimes we fall very hard. But
Mhm.
was there anything in that transition? Because I know a lot of people could probably relate to those transitions of losing something you love or transitioning from something you love. But sometimes, like I said, you might not have one. You might have just fallen right in and maybe somehow it all, just kind of flowed into the next thing.
Ah, man, obviously just growing up and stuff like that, but from my head injury, I had been medicated. So like, like the caution thing on the, you shouldn't drink alcohol with your medicine and stuff like that. So I wasn't much of a drinker. I tried,
Hmm.
but obviously like it intensified it. So I would just be just a mess. So I'm like, okay, I need to learn to figure this out. But yeah, ever since my head injury, I've been medicated at some type, just dealing with whatever. And then I stopped for a while and ended up having seizures. So it's like I haven't really been able to dabble in with to really find something like that. So racing was my fix. So that's why I kept going after it. That's the only thing that
Hmm.
really just kept me going, because that, yeah, nothing else did it for me. Just the
Yeah.
love of racing, being at the track, the close friends, the people that I grew up with. Like I could see them, not really remember them, but I'm just like, hey, like this is comfortable to me. This is my safe place.
Hmm.
At home when no one's there, that's a dark spot. But at the racetrack, I can always go and talk to someone, hang out with someone, no matter how I'm feeling.
Nice. Well, I mean, that's much props to you. I mean, like I said, it's I mean, I've seen you transition in like to today, and I see a lot of the riders you're helping. I see where your heart's at, and I see you
Mm.
evolving daily too, like trying to figure out, okay, what is my positioning? What is,
Yeah.
trying to just really hone in on that purpose. And like I said, we talked a few weeks back, and I just remember going, man, I get deep because to me, it's like there's so many little triggers in our brain sometimes that are like our brain holding us back, or those demons in our head,
Hmm.
and it was really inspirational always to talk to you. But like when we talked, I just remember going, man, we're all on this journey together. But like you said, having the good friends around you, having the people to talk and walk through these things, and I share the same thing. Motorsports, my thirst for motorsports has been the blessing, and it was community. It was the connection. I mean, it teaches you. I mean, tell me what motorsports, because I know BMX, anything with wheels could be auto, but in our case, like motocross, it's hard to explain what it teaches you, and everyone's always like, how do you go back after injury? But it's hard to explain something you love that much and that intensely and you're that dedicated to. But what would you say some of the biggest takeaways are, whether it's like learning just alertness, learning about, I mean, we're on the gate with 30 people, you've been on the gate since you were 5, 6 years old. Like what are some of the takeaways from your thirst and love for motorsports that you feel are kind of tools that are equipping you for life?
The life experience, traveling, going to different states, meeting different people, the highs, the lows, interviewing, different languages, different countries, getting to travel. There's so much that we can take away from motocross that we get so caught in the moment of going from point A to point B in racing that we get lost on why we're there. But really taking in the journey, like when you hit a state line, take a photo of it, the capital of each state, take it in and just, looking at, like the 50 states. I think I've only not been to five. And like that's cool to look back on. It's like I want to go and do those. Maine is one that I haven't been to. Vermont. It's like, okay, there's not many dirt bike tracks up there, but the reason I experienced those was because of my dirt bike.
Hmm.
I wouldn't have had that if I was just your normal kid in school or something like that, unless I guess that's sports in general, you get to travel. But with racing, it doesn't limit you just to United States, but other countries. It's awesome that the Europeans are coming over here, and a couple of us, I guess Zach Osborne and Villapoto were the last two to really go over there, learn another language, just being bilingual. I think there's so much that we can take away from racing that we're kind of overlooking right now and getting caught up in the moment.
No, well said, well said. The one thing that always sticks to me is like, sometimes as we get older, it's like keeping the kid in us alive. And it's like, when your kid's in the backyard playing astronauts and rock stars, like dreaming big,
Yeah.
like going back, like what through all the, you've been through the brain injuries, the races, so much success. Like there's so many positives. Like time to breathe to me is just that recollection, like just referencing and just thinking about all these moments. What's one today that you still think back, whether you're 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, something that you're just like, man, the chills, the excitement, the win, something with your family, some race, some track, and you're just like that love for motorsports and just like the kid in you. Is there a memory that stands out?
Man, there's so many. There are so many. I mean, if we're talking about something with involving me and you, I first got the gear deal. One of the coolest things is, even now today to have your name on the back of your jersey, and you're like, oh yeah, no, we'll sign you. And then 2 days later, I got a package, and you had cut out whoever's name, a SEAN and an
No.
89, and you did that, and made my own custom jersey, and that was like, oh wow, like hey, this is mine. Like the person I think that was something cool. And your first wins, Loretta's, like I got sponsored by Toyota and got given a truck, Disney Channel. Like I have a couple pretty cool things that I've got to do in my life that have just been those moments that you're like, okay, like this is cool. What's next? What's next? Let's keep going because we reach one. Let's not stop now.
Yeah, no, man, that's insane. No, I remember. I remember literally that picture. It's you, Nico, Izzy. Are you guys like 6 or 7?
Eight
At
or
some.
nine. Eight or
Oh, you're
nine.
8 or 9. Okay, my
Just
bad.
got
My bad.
we just got off 50s.
But you guys, okay, when you say 50s, I thought it was like had to be 6 or 7. But okay, you're 8 or 9 years old.
Yeah.
I remember that picture when I was signing Nico and you're next to him, and then I'm like, let's do it, man. This
Hmm.
kid's awesome. Of course, they spoke so highly of you. I don't think I even saw you race. I
Yeah.
just was like, I'm like, let's go. This, like, your mom Kim, just thought your dad, just awesome. And I was like, I remember that picture, and you guys are so tiny. But until you just, the fun thing about these conversations is you brought back. I used to do all the heat transfers, obviously, like you
Hmm.
said, for the jerseys for McGrath, Pastrana, Wyndham, you guys, and all the amateurs, Millsaps. And I remember like wanting to get your name on it so bad. I think I was out. I just didn't have time to get the heat transfer. So I cut up every letter out of every one of their names
And it was
to.
all. And that's one of my favorite jerseys today because that was personalized. That meant something. It was like, oh, I'm not going to type it, knowing how it works now and all that. It's like, hey, he's a kid. Let me just get him in. I still have that stuff. Like my parents kept a lot of things to help my memory come back. And it's still hard for me to dibble and dabble in that. But that's one thing that I do have somewhere around here that I can kind of look back on. And those things that kept me in that good spirit, returning back to that question earlier.
Yeah, man, that's insane. I mean, for me, finally kind of jumping out of like excuses to not like launch a podcast. I've been talking about for probably 5 years. I mean, ever
Yeah.
since the Mini Warriors, the brands, the Ethicas, the Alpine
Yeah.
Stars, the whole deal. I just, anyways, I became a dad. My daughter's 7. You got kind of go through that side, but this is amazing to me because one, it brings back so many good memories. Two, I love seeing you continue to thrive, and I see what you're doing to just kind of keep pushing the levels of how you can help people, how you can bring value. I see what you're doing through some of these athletes that I'm getting to know a little bit as well. And the parents might not understand it. I mean, I'm getting back into the game too, with
Hmm.
Mended, which
Yeah.
is so much fun. I went to Ponca, went to Mini O's,
Yes.
and it was so cool, and it brought back so many memories of you guys. But I just think gratitude. Like I truly think about like your mom was always so nice. I mean, we spent Thanksgivings together because of Mini O's, and it was just to me, you guys as a family, you as an individual, to watch you continue climbing and pushing, and I love that I know you, and I know you haven't even touched the surface yet of like your potential and where you're going. But man, it's just been it's just fun. It's just so cool to me, like the memories and the friendships, the relationships and the journey, like you said, that motocross, motorsports, action sports. I mean, it's not just necessarily. I mean, it's opened up doors, like you said, Disney. I mean, Disney is what Mickey Mouse Club that brought up
Yeah.
Timberlake, all the homies. And I remember you
Correct.
had a pretty significant little play,
Hmm.
right, in a mix of stuff. And it's just like,
Yeah.
but it's man, it's humbling. It's humbling to kind of have a flashback, but also be on with you now, and it brings back just the chills of a lot of those memories. I actually forgot that I made that jersey for you until you brought it up, and now I actually could visually remember on the heat transfer machine with the scissors cutting it out.
Hmm. Yeah. No, it's just, and that's what it comes back to, just going back to the roots of remembering why I did this, why I've stuck along this path for so long. It's because of those highs are so great. You get to share them with your family, your friends, and most of my family and friends are still, well, obviously my family, but most of my friends have become family and they're still involved with this sport, becoming agents, reps, mechanics, team managers. It's awesome. It's a full circle.
Dude, once again, I don't know why I didn't bring this up. Going to Mini O's was insane, and so much fun watching the race. But seeing your pops just out there hustling,
Old
crushing it.
and still out there, just it's awesome. I love
Oh,
it.
dude,
Love it.
the dedication your family is putting to motorsports is so humbling. But yeah, your dad was out there. How many riders does he help?
He helps about three or four. He also works with Dunlop. So he just does this thing. The man stays busy. Like we're just a moto family. This is what we do. And obviously it's affected my mom more, and she still comes to around every now and then, but after so many years and the heartbreaks and all of that, it's she lets me do my thing.
What no, that's I mean there's nothing easy about it, right? And it's a dirty it's a hey, it sounds like I'm saying it in about it's a dirty sport literally and figuratively, but
Life
it,
is though,
it
it's just one of those things. Just proceed with caution. It's everything has a warning label on it, so just and that's why I'm trying to just give proper techniques. Like, hey, try this, try that, and I've been along this road before, and I can kind of try to help direct you and steer you. I'm not trying to tell you don't do this or don't do that, but because options are always going to be available.
No, well said. No, I totally agree with that. Um, all this perspective, all this excitement, everything gained. What excites you for the next like few years?
To keep evolving. It comes from coaching one kid to multiple kids, and then multiple kids wasn't necessarily my niche. I couldn't really lock in with too many kids. So a smaller group I like, and I'd like to start a team, to be honest with you. I think that would be kind of cool to, with my group of people that have the experience, that have racers and friends that are truck drivers. I have a lot of connections that I'm like, hey, let's all try to put something together and start a little amateur program, see how it goes, and maybe we can help evolve that because there's a lot of people after racing's over. It's what do I do? What do I do? And we all have this gift, so let's give it back.
Well, I'm always here to back you on that. I'm having fun again in it too, and normally what that does is it brings good ideas and potential teams together, right?
Yeah, say, well, there we go.
Um, I'm gonna throw this one out there. Obviously, with the podcast being "Time to Breathe." When you hear "Time to Breathe," what thoughts come to you? What thoughts come to like? How does it make you feel? What thoughts come to your head?
For me, time to breathe is when that 30-second board turns sideways. Take a nice big breath
Oh,
and that gate drop now because that's when I have to focus on my breathing, not holding my breath, hyperventilating. Hey, we're just here to do what I know how to do, what we practice to do. That's why we came here. My family and I, we set goals going into the weekend, and it's like, hey, we're going here to do what? Okay. Are we feel like we're ready to do that? Yes. So it's that 30-second board goes, here we go. And that
dude,
that's my moment to breathe right there.
dude, I
Take
was
it,
gonna.
take it all in. This is your moment.
Gosh, take it all in. This is your moment. That hits so hard when that 30-second board goes sideways.
Yeah.
For anyone that hasn't been on a gate or hasn't been, on a stage performing or whatever, dude, you just kind of described it, but the feeling is priceless, right? Everything you did, all the hard work. It's like the Olympians that train for 4 years, right, for the Olympics.
Hmm.
For that moment. But that moment is that gate. It's about to drop. You don't even know the exact timing. Board goes sideways. All your hard work, you belong on that gate. Time to breathe. But it's you said it so well. But that intensity, and I don't know why I know that, and I think that same way. But I forgot until you just said. I'm going, man, that gate. And it's just in life, the you put in the work, do the work, have fun, enjoy the moments. But man, your stomach hits, it tightens up, and it's just dude, if you don't remind yourself,
Feeling like no other.
dude, you could pass out on the gate, right? If you
Yeah,
don't take that breath.
absolutely. Like I said, you can hyperventilate and be like, oh, I did this, I did that. No, you just got to remember what you need to do and go do it. Just like
Man,
Mike said, it's pretty simple. Just do it.
yeah, Nike definitely crushes with that. Well, Sean, I love you, dude. I appreciate you jumping on. I know it's a random little one, but I've been wanting to catch up with you for a while, whether it's
Absolutely.
on this or off this. But I'm here to support you. Got nothing but love for you. And we both live in Texas. We're a little bit apart. I know we're supposed to link in the next few weeks, but appreciate you, dude. Man, I can't wait to see where you continue to take things, and appreciate you jumping on and the friendship, and just big fan, big supporter of you, buddy.
No problem, man. Hey, can't wait to see you. I'll be down soon.
Awesome. All right, take care, bud.
All right, take care, man.
We about to rewrite the family history. We going up like the Statue of